I want to talk to you today about something profound, something that can alter the entire trajectory of your life. I want to talk to you about change. Not just any change, but the kind of change that transforms everything. The kind of change where you look back 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, 5 years from now, and you say to yourself, that was the moment. That was the day everything changed. And I'm here to tell you that everything can change. Everything will change when you make that decision, that fundamental decision that says, I've had enough. I'm not going to live this way anymore. I'm not going to settle anymore. I'm not going to be mediocre anymore. Because, see, for things to change, you've got to change. For things to get better, you've got to get better. And that's not just some motivational phrase I'm throwing at you. That's the truth. That's the reality of how life works. Someone once said, the day you change, your life changes. And isn't that powerful? Think about that for a moment. The very day you decide to change, your life begins to change. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when circumstances are better. Right now. Today. This moment. Everything can change because you can change. Now let me ask you something. When was the last time you looked at your life and really assessed where you are versus where you want to be? When was the last time you were honest with yourself about the gap between your dreams and your reality? Most people won't do this. Most people are afraid to look. They're afraid to see the truth because the truth might be uncomfortable. The truth might require them to take responsibility. The truth might demand that they stop making excuses and start making progress. But you're not most people. You wouldn't be here if you were most people. You're here because something inside you is stirring. Something inside you is saying, there's more. There has to be more. I was meant for more. And you're absolutely right. There is more. But here's what you need to understand: that more won't come to you. You've got to go get it. You've got to become the person who deserves it, who attracts it, who creates it. You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. Let that sink in. You might not be able to snap your fingers and suddenly have everything you want, but you can snap your fingers and change the direction you're heading. You can make different choices today. You can develop different habits today. You can start reading different books, associating with different people, thinking different thoughts today. Everything changed for me when I discovered a simple truth: my life was not going to get better by chance. It was going to get better by change. And that change had to start with me, not with my circumstances, not with the economy, not with other people, with me. I had to change my thinking. I had to change my philosophy. I had to change my attitude. I had to change my activities. See, most people are waiting for things to change so they can change. They say, when I get more money, then I'll be generous. When I get more time, then I'll read. When I feel motivated, then I'll take action. But that's backwards. That's completely backwards. You've got to change first, and then everything else changes. You've got to become generous first, and then the money flows. You've got to make time to read first, and then you gain the knowledge. You've got to take action first, and then the motivation comes. Don't wish it was easier. Wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems. Wish for more skills. Don't wish for less challenge. Wish for more wisdom. This is the philosophy that changes everything. When you stop looking for an easier path and start working on becoming a better person, everything shifts. The whole game changes. I remember when I was 20, 5 years old, broke, behind on my promises, my dreams, nowhere in sight. And I had to make a decision. I could keep doing what I was doing and keep getting what I was getting, or I could change. I could change my philosophy. I could change my approach. I could change my dedication to personal development, and that's when everything changed. Not overnight, but it began to change. The trajectory shifted. You see, small changes don't produce small results. Small changes, when practiced consistently, produce massive results. If you change your habits by just a small percentage, if you improve your daily disciplines by just a fraction, the compound effect over time is staggering. It's exponential. A slight change in direction today means you'll end up in a completely different place a year from now. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day, while failure is simply a few errors in judgment repeated every day. This is one of the most important things you'll ever understand. Success isn't this big, mysterious thing. It's not reserved for the lucky or the gifted or the privileged. Success is simply the result of doing the right things consistently. And failure is just doing the wrong things consistently. What are you doing consistently? What are your daily habits? What are you reading? What are you studying? Who are you spending time with? What are you feeding your mind? Because whatever you're doing today, you're going to be doing more of tomorrow unless you change it right now. Your habits are either leading you toward the life you want or away from it. There's no neutral. You're either growing or dying. You're either getting better or getting worse. Everything changed when I realized that I was responsible. Totally responsible for my life, for my results, for my happiness, for my success, for everything. Nobody else was going to do it for me. Nobody was going to rescue me. Nobody was going to hand me the life I wanted. I had to take responsibility. I had to stop blaming circumstances and start changing circumstances. The same wind blows on us all. The wind of disaster, the wind of opportunity, the wind of change. Therefore, it is not the blowing of the wind, but the set of the sail that determines the direction we go. We all face the same basic winds in life. We all have challenges. We all have setbacks. We all have obstacles. But why do some people thrive while others barely survive? It's not the wind, it's the sail. It's how you respond. It's what you do with what happens to you. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you respond to everything that happens to you. And that response, that choice, that's where your power lies. That's where everything changes. When you stop being a victim of circumstances and start being a victor over circumstances, everything shifts. Let me tell you something about change that most people don't understand. Change is not an event, it's a process. People think they're going to have this one moment, this one breakthrough, this one realization, and everything will suddenly be different. But that's not how it works. Change is daily. Change is the accumulation of small decisions, small improvements, small steps taken consistently over time. You want to know when everything changed. It changed when I started reading books instead of watching television. It changed when I started setting goals instead of just wishing. It changed when I started associating with successful people instead of complainers. It changed when I started investing in myself instead of making excuses. It changed when I started taking action instead of waiting for perfect conditions. If you are not willing to risk the unusual, you will have to settle for the ordinary. Most people settle. They settle for ordinary because they're not willing to do what's unusual. They're not willing to stand out. They're not willing to be different. They're not willing to read when everyone else is watching TV. They're not willing to work when everyone else is partying. They're not willing to save when everyone else is spending. But you know what? Unusual effort produces unusual results. Extraordinary commitment produces extraordinary outcomes. If you want your life to change, if you want everything to change, you've got to be willing to do what others won't do. You've got to be willing to become who others won't become. Everything changes when you understand this principle. Your income rarely exceeds your personal development. If you want to make more, you've got to become more. If you want to have more, you've got to grow more. If you want to achieve more, you've got to learn more. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Make yourself more valuable. Increase your knowledge. Develop your skills. Transform your thinking. Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. This is the distinction between average and extraordinary. Everyone gets some formal education. That's common. That's expected. But how many people are committed to self-education? How many people are reading books, listening to audios, attending seminars, studying success, examining philosophy? Very few. And that's why very few are truly successful. If you will spend 1 hour a day studying your field, in 5 years you'll be a national expert. In 7 years you'll be an international authority. 1 hour a day. That's all it takes. But most people won't do it. Most people will spend that hour watching mindless entertainment or scrolling through social media, and then they wonder why their life doesn't change. They wonder why they're stuck in the same place year after year. Everything changed for me when I discovered the power of books. Books are incredible. In a book, you can have a conversation with someone who lived 100 years ago. You can learn from someone who's already been where you want to go. You can compress decades of experience into hours of reading. Books are like having a mentor available anytime you want one. Miss a meal if you have to, but don't miss a book. That's how important reading is to your development. Some people say they don't have time to read. But you have time for what you make time for. You have time for what you value. If you don't have time to read, you don't have time to succeed. It's that simple. Let me talk to you about associations, because this is another area where everything changed. You become like the people you spend the most time with. If you hang around 5 confident people, you'll be the 6th. If you hang around 5 successful people, you'll be the 6th. If you hang around 5 people with big dreams, you'll be the 6th. But if you hang around 5 people who are broke, who complain, who blame, who make excuses, you'll be the 6th. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Look at your 5 closest friends. Look at their habits, their attitudes, their incomes, their lifestyles. That's your future unless you change your associations. This isn't being harsh. This isn't being judgmental. This is being realistic. You cannot soar with eagles if you're scratching with turkeys. Some of you need to change your associations. Some of you need to spend less time with certain people and more time with other people. Some of you need to join different groups, attend different events, put yourself in different environments. This isn't about being better than anyone else. This is about becoming better yourself. Everything changes when you change your environment. If you want to grow, you've got to put yourself in a growing environment. If you want to be successful, you've got to be around successful people. If you want to be wealthy, you've got to study wealthy people. If you want to be healthy, you've got to associate with healthy people. Environment is stronger than willpower. Environment shapes behavior. Now let me talk to you about goals, because this is fundamental. Goals are like magnets. They'll attract the things that make them come true. Most people don't have goals. They have wishes. They have dreams. But they don't have goals. A goal is something specific, written down with a deadline. A goal is something you're committed to, something you're working toward every single day. Everything changed when I started setting goals, when I started writing them down, when I started reading them every day, when I started making plans to achieve them. Suddenly, I had direction. I had purpose. I had a reason to get up in the morning. I had a reason to work harder, to learn more, to become better. Without a sense of urgency, desire loses its value. You can have all the goals in the world, but if you don't have urgency, if you don't have that fire, that drive, that commitment to take action now, those goals will remain dreams. You've got to develop a sense of urgency. You've got to understand that time is passing, that today will never come again, that every day you wait is a day you can never get back. Some of you have been thinking about changing for years. Years! You've been saying, someday I'll start that business, someday I'll write that book, someday I'll get in shape, someday I'll learn that skill. But someday is not a day of the week. Someday never comes unless you make it today. Everything changes when someday becomes today. We must all suffer one of two things, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Which pain do you want? The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. Discipline is getting up when you don't feel like it. Discipline is doing what you know you should do even when you'd rather do something else. But regret is looking back at a wasted life. Regret is knowing you could have, should have, but didn't. Everything changes when you embrace discipline. When you make discipline your friend, your companion, your daily practice, discipline is not punishment. Discipline is freedom. Discipline is what allows you to achieve what you want. Discipline is what separates those who succeed from those who struggle. Let me tell you about the power of consistency. Success is neither magical nor mysterious. Success is the natural consequence of consistently applying basic fundamentals. It's not complicated. It's not some secret formula. It's showing up every day. It's doing the work when you feel like it and when you don't. It's being consistent with your efforts, your learning, your growth. Most people are sporadic. They work hard for a week, then take a week off. They eat healthy for 3 days, then binge for 4. They read a book, then don't pick up another one for 6 months. You cannot succeed being sporadic. You cannot build anything being inconsistent. Everything changes when you commit to consistency. When you show up every single day, even when it's hard, even when you don't see immediate results. The miracle of the seed and the soil is not available by affirmation. It is only available by labor. You can affirm all you want. You can visualize all you want. You can wish and hope and dream all you want. But nothing happens until you plant the seed and tend the soil. Nothing happens until you put in the work. The universe doesn't respond to wishes. The universe responds to action. Everything changed when I started taking massive action. Not perfect action, not flawless action, just action. I stopped waiting for the perfect time, the perfect plan, the perfect conditions. I started doing. I started trying. I started learning by doing. And you know what I discovered? Action creates clarity. Action creates momentum. Action creates results. Most people are paralyzed by overthinking. They're planning and preparing and getting ready to get ready. But they never actually start. They never actually do. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Stop waiting. Stop hesitating. Stop doubting. Start now. Start today. Start with what you have, where you are, with what you know. Everything changes when you realize that you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to know every step. You just have to take the first step. And then the second. And then the third. The path reveals itself as you walk it. Let me talk to you about failure, because this is where most people get stuck. They're afraid to fail. They're afraid to make mistakes. They're afraid to look foolish. But failure is not the opposite of success. It's a stepping stone to success. Every successful person has failed. Every successful person has made mistakes. Every successful person has been rejected, criticized, doubted. Everything changed when I stopped being afraid of failure and started seeing it as feedback. Failure is information. Failure tells you what doesn't work so you can try something else. Failure is not fatal unless you quit. You haven't failed until you stop trying. You haven't lost until you give up. Don't let your learning lead to knowledge. Let your learning lead to action. Some people are professional students. They read every book, attend every seminar, watch every video, but they never do anything with what they learn. They never apply it. They never implement it. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is only potential power. It becomes power when you use it, when you act on it, when you make it produce results. Everything changes when you become a person of action. When you take what you learn and immediately apply it. When you test it, when you try it, when you see what works and what doesn't. Application is where transformation happens. Application is where theory becomes reality. You know what else changed everything? Gratitude. Learn to be thankful for what you already have while you pursue all that you want. So many people are so focused on what they don't have that they can't see what they do have. They're so busy chasing more that they can't appreciate now. And that's a miserable way to live. Everything changes when you develop an attitude of gratitude. When you wake up thankful for another day. When you appreciate your health, your family, your opportunities. When you recognize how blessed you already are. Gratitude shifts your perspective. Gratitude shifts your energy. Gratitude attracts more good into your life. Learn how to be happy with what you have while you pursue all that you want. This is the balance. This is the secret to joy. You can be content and ambitious at the same time. You can be grateful for where you are while working to get somewhere better. You don't have to choose between appreciating today and building for tomorrow. Let me tell you about the power of words. Words can inspire. Words can destroy. Choose yours well. The words you speak to yourself about yourself are creating your reality. If you keep saying, I can't, you're right. If you keep saying, I'm not good enough, you're creating that reality. If you keep saying, nothing ever works out for me, you're programming yourself for failure. Everything changes when you change your words. When you start speaking life instead of death. When you start declaring what you want instead of what you fear. When you start affirming possibility instead of limitation. Your words are powerful. Your words shape your beliefs. Your beliefs shape your actions. Your actions shape your results. Affirmation without discipline is the beginning of delusion. You can't just say nice things and expect life to change. You have to back up your words with action. You have to support your declarations with effort. You have to match your affirmations with discipline. Words plus action equals results. Everything changes when you understand that success is not a destination. It's a journey. It's not something you arrive at and then you're done. It's a continuous process of growth, of learning, of becoming. Success is not to be pursued. It is to be attracted by the person you become. Stop chasing success. Start building yourself. Start developing yourself. Start transforming yourself. Become the kind of person that success is attracted to. What kind of person does success pursue? Someone who reads, someone who learns, someone who grows, someone who sets goals, someone who takes action, someone who persists, someone who's disciplined, someone who's positive, someone who's reliable, someone who does what they say they're going to do, someone who finishes what they start. That's who success pursues. Everything changed when I stopped looking for shortcuts and started taking the long road. There are no shortcuts to any place worth going. Everyone wants the fast path, the easy way, the quick fix. But anything worth having takes time to build. Wealth takes time to build. Health takes time to build. Relationships take time to build. Character takes time to build. Be patient with yourself, but be persistent. Be willing to put in the time, the effort, the work. Don't expect overnight success. Don't expect immediate results. Plant your seeds, water them, tend them, and trust the process. Trust that if you keep doing the right things, the harvest will come. Time is more valuable than money. You can get more money, but you cannot get more time. This is why you must be intentional with your time. You must invest it wisely. You must spend it on things that matter, on things that grow you, on things that move you toward your goals. Don't waste your time. Don't squander your hours. Treat time like the precious, irreplaceable resource it is. Everything changes when you become intentional about your time. When you schedule your priorities instead of prioritizing your schedule. When you say no to distractions and yes to what matters. When you guard your time like you guard your money. Actually, guard it even more carefully because you can always make more money, but you can never make more time. Let me tell you something that might be hard to hear, but it's true. You don't get paid for the hour. You get paid for the value you bring to the hour. Two people can work the same amount of time and get paid dramatically different amounts. Why? Because one has made themselves more valuable. One has developed more skills. One brings more to the marketplace. Everything changes when you focus on increasing your value. When you focus on becoming more skilled, more knowledgeable, more capable. The marketplace rewards value. The marketplace pays for results. Make yourself more valuable, and you'll make more money. It's that simple. Don't bring your need to the marketplace. Bring your skill. The marketplace doesn't care about your needs. The marketplace doesn't care about your bills, your problems, your circumstances. The marketplace only cares about what value you can provide, what problems you can solve, what needs you can meet. So develop your skills. Increase your value. Bring something worth paying for. Everything changes when you shift from an entitlement mentality to an earning mentality. When you stop expecting and start earning, when you stop demanding and start delivering, when you focus on what you can give instead of what you can get, this one shift can transform your entire life. Happiness is not something you postpone for the future. It is something you design for the present. Stop saying, I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I make more money. I'll be happy when I lose weight. I'll be happy when I find the right relationship. That's a trap. That's a recipe for perpetual unhappiness. Everything changes when you decide to be happy now. When you find joy in the journey. When you celebrate small wins. When you appreciate the process. You can be happy right now, regardless of your circumstances. Happiness is a choice. Happiness is a discipline. Happiness is something you practice, not something you pursue. Life is not just the passing of time. Life is the collection of experiences and their intensity. Make your life count. Make your days matter. Don't just exist, live. Don't just go through the motions, be present. Don't just pass time, create experiences. Create memories. Create moments that matter. Everything changes when you decide that your life is going to be extraordinary. Not because of what happens to you, but because of what you make happen. Not because of luck or chance, but because of choice and effort. Not because it's easy, but because you're committed. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your opportunity to change everything. Not someday. Not eventually. Now. Today. Right now. Make the decision. Make the commitment. Take the first step. And then keep stepping. Keep moving. Keep growing. Keep becoming. Everything can change. Everything will change. When you change. When you decide. When you commit. When you act. The power is in your hands. The choice is yours. What are you going to do with it? Don't ask for less problems. Ask for more skills. Don't ask for less challenges, ask for more wisdom. This is how you grow. This is how you become. This is how everything changes, not by having an easier life, but by becoming a stronger person. Your life can be different. Your results can be different. Your future can be different. But it starts with you being different. It starts with you changing. It starts with you taking responsibility and taking action. Everything changes when you change, so change. Today, now. This moment. Everything is waiting for you on the other side of that decision.